Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk. It's a gloomy Monday in Manchester for many, many reasons. The weather is absolutely pissing it down. I mean, I don't mind rain personally, but I imagine for people just going back into work this morning, it's miserable, it's rainy, proper Manchester Union weather. You've just lost 3-0 to your rivals yesterday against Liverpool, and it almost feels like the worst hangover you've ever had, and you've not even consumed any alcohol. That is how I'm feeling, anyway, at least this morning. So what we're going to do is, we're going to discuss the game, do some pros and cons on it, a bit more of a tactical insight, one might say, into it. And now you've calmed down a little bit, we can discuss it properly. Obviously, yesterday's show, as always, very reactionary, very passionate, because it's fresh off the result. Now you've had time to be calculated. I've watched a couple of clips back, you know, done my analysis, if you will. So that's the main focus. What we're going to do, I want to take a look at, you know, why things happened and what we're still not getting right, the issues, the individual mistakes, all these kind of things. So yeah, make sure you get your opinions in the comments and smash a like on the video. We're also going to talk about transfers. I know the window is closed in England, but there is still a couple, like for example, Saudi market is still open for the next couple of days. Belgium market is still open. I think the Dutch market is still open, and there's a few others. So some of our players, respectively, can still go, and we may be able to sign a free agent, but I'm not entirely sure how that works. Yeah, again, we'd have to look into that. So we're going to discuss that. Also, we're going to discuss lack of a clinical striker, because let's be honest, I'm looking at Zerk. I'll get into it later anyway, but that's what I want to take a look at. I do think it's an issue that we may have for the majority of the season if we're not careful. And then obviously it's the international break technically now. So yeah, what are the lads going to be doing on the training ground? There's a couple of players going away with their teams, which I don't think. I think Bruno, for example, someone like him, and Alessandro, I would rather just wrap in cotton wool, just give him 2 weeks off and then bring him back. But we don't live in an ideal world, unfortunately. So let's discuss that towards the end. But what I want to do is I want to start off with my analysis. And again, look, I always say to you guys, if you disagree with it, absolutely fine, no problem whatsoever. Challenge me on it. Anything I say tactically, anything you think, no, actually, I think he's wrong. I think he should stay in the team. I think this guy should. Whatever it is, this is a democracy, you know. That's what we say. Like, every opinion counts. So get yours in, and I'll go to him in a minute. So let's start off with some basic stats from the game, yeah? Obviously, Liverpool won 3-0. Mohamed Salah involved in all 3 goals, 1 goal and 2 assists. He was a key player for them yesterday. I think Szoboszlai should have scored a 4th, just to kind of add that on top. He was fucking about. I don't know what he was doing. Possession stats, very mixed. You had United with 53% and Liverpool with 47%. Possession doesn't really matter to a certain extent, because you can still win games if you've got 20%, 30%. We've done it on the counter-attack before. But a mixed share of possession. Liverpool had 15 shots, 7 on target. United 9 shots, 3 on target. Liverpool pass accuracy and United's pass accuracy was both the same, which surprised me a little bit, 84%. And then when you go to XG, Liverpool 1.79 and United 1.36. So there's just some basic stats to kick you off. Don't worry, it's not going to be all stat-based. I'm not going to sit here just reading stats off a thing. But I just thought, as an intro, to get a general assumption of the game, there's the kind of the broad ones. Now, the specific ones I wanted to have a look at, and I was doing some research on last night. So for United, possession lost in the defensive half had nearly double Liverpool's. 44 times we lost it in our own half. 44 times. Casemiro was probably about 25% of those. That is crazy. That is extremely risky. And we talk about high risk, high reward. It's the opposite in a minute. High risk, you know, you get punished straight away. You look at individuals as well. Alessandro Martinez, had an error leading to a shot on goal. Casemiro had 2 that both led to a goal. Manu had 1 that led to a goal. Onana put a few out of play under pressure. I think De Ligt had a couple of mistakes at the back, although he was good in his individual battles. So there's a glaring red flag straight off the bat that you're like, oh my God, what on earth is going on here? We only won. This is the one that shocked me, because I didn't really notice it in the game. But again, stats don't lie. We only won 27% of our aerial duels. That's 5 out of 18. Whereas Liverpool won 73% of theirs. 13 out of 18. 5 out of 18 aerial duels won. That's it. And we talk about the lack of physicality in this team. I know we've brought, the majority of our signings are all over 6 foot. And to be honest, when I watched De Ligt, Managerial, they probably won their aerial duels from what I can remember. But you think about the rest of the squad, it's quite small. Alessandro Martinez is quite small. Dallow's not massive. Bruno's quite weak. Kobe's quite small-ish. Casemiro's good in the air, but he just had an absolute nightmare yesterday. Garnacho's not massive, is it? Xerxes big, but he's not great in the air. He weren't great in the air at Bologna either. And Marcus Rashford in a tackle is... you might as well just throw a soggy Weetabix at someone. That's because he's just no strength in the air. So I think physicality is a huge issue, especially when you're playing in the Premier League week in, week out. You need robust physical players. I even look at Man City's midfield. For all the technical brilliance that they've got, Bernardo Silva's an absolute workhorse and actually quite strong for his size. De Bruyne is a powerful runner. You've seen him nudge players off the ball plenty of times before. And then Rodri, of course, as well, is extremely, sturdy, strong, can't get the ball off him. I just don't feel they have that power in the midfield. Look at the runners for Liverpool yesterday. Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai. Every time they got the ball, just running at us. So aerial duels and physical duels in general is a concern, at least I think. We only created 3 big chances, and Xerxes missed 2 of them. Now, there's a lot of people going in on Xerxes yesterday, and I don't really understand it. It's his first start for the club. I mean, me and my mate was literally arguing on this. He was like, Xerxes shit, don't rate him. I was like, okay, hell. The kid's had 1 start. Like, give him a bit of a break. You know what I mean? He's still getting used to the team. I actually liked certain parts of his game where he's dropping deep and he's linking up because we've not had a striker like that for ages. So I just appreciating that aspect where he does drop into space. Yep, spread it out wide, get back into the box. And that's where his goal came from against Fulham. With Xerxes, it's going to take a bit of time. It's going to be a slow burner. We've always said he's not going to be the guy who scores 20-odd goals. He's just not. But if he can be, like Firmino in his first season for Liverpool, I think scored 9 goals and got a few assists. If he can replicate that in his first season, I'd be okay with it. But that's one of the reasons why towards the end of this show, I've mentioned about a clinical striker and why we may have missed the boat on that. But I'll touch on that towards the end. So the ones that I've already mentioned as a collective, mistakes, physicality, and lack of threat in the final third are the 3 huge red flags at the minute. I have further analysis, but let's go to the comments. What are we all saying, people? How are we all, first and foremost? Thank you very much for joining me. Would we be better off with Graham Potter than Harry Potter? That's from Box. Andy Williams, I'm not angry anymore. The manager has lowered the standards. Why should we be asked anymore? He's very, very passionately annoyed. I understand it. Rabiot for Eriksen, no-brainer. Get it done. I'll talk about that. Excuse me. I don't think we're as bad as the scoreline makes it seem. Interesting take. It's hard to think like that because the mistakes were so bad, weren't they, Sean? I just feel very negative in my mind about the manager, about the team. Yeah, don't feel great. Afternoon, Nick. Good afternoon, everyone in the chat. Hope you're all good. That's from My Damned United. We've lost under Eric Ten Hag 11 games, 3-0 against top 6 teams. That is a pretty damning stat. I brought the stats, but then Andy Williams just bringing the absolute superstar stats there. We've lost 11 games under Ten Hag, 3-0 against the top 6. 3-0 or more, should I say. That is crazy. That is crazy. Maguire, come on, no nonsense. Won the headers, won the tackles, quick, alert, even a threat in the box. Xerxes' touch looked worse than Lukaku. I disagree. At times, maybe, but no, not for the full game. I disagree. Xerxes will get the same criticism from the same people as Berber did. You can't compare Xerxes to Berbatov, apparently. You can't keep blaming Casemiro. They all played shit. Right. I don't know what game you're watching. Casemiro cost us 2 goals. Whatever way you want to look at it, you want to blame other players. He didn't have a great performance. That's fine. Casemiro cost us the 2 goals. That is a fact. An absolute fact. So to say you can't blame Casemiro for the game, you're not watching the game if you think that. And if we stick with the midfield, if you take a look at the areas where the most action was, the highest concentration of play in the game, so where it was dominated, was the midfield. And that's where the battle was won and lost on United's behalf. I mentioned before, Gravenberch, his 3rd game as a 6. For Arne Slot's put him in that new position. Under Klopp, he was an 8. At Ajax, he was an 8 predominantly. Arne Slot's put him in there, and he's playing like a prime Patrick Vieira. Absolutely nuts. McAllister's been at Liverpool for 1 season. 1 season, I think, when Klopp, regenerated that midfield. Obviously, it's his 2nd season now. Szoboszlai, similar. Bought for 60, 70 million quid. Put into the midfield. They've not been playing together long. They've together, I would argue, Szoboszlai, McAllister and Gravenberch have probably played 10 games max together. Maybe I'm wrong on that one, but I haven't seen him as a combination before Arne Slot a lot. So the fact that how how dominating there was in the midfield against a midfield of ours where we've got 2 senior pros. Casemiro's won everything there is. Bruno's won stuff, captain of United, and then a generational talent. The midfield dominated ours completely. Physically, on the ball, the intensity, and that's worrying. That's extremely worrying. For players who literally played 10 times to get madness, utter madness. Individually, there's reasons why it doesn't work. I think as a collective, they just don't complement each other whatsoever. You've got Bruno Fernandes, who is just like a headless chicken when he's pressing. He has no structure sometimes. He's very, very wild. I think that's the theme, actually. For the majority, apart from Manu, Casemiro and Bruno are so wild and reckless with the passing at times and pressing. There's no structure in the midfield at all, is there? Nothing. I feel like Manu's the only one who puts his foot on the ball, either takes on a man, plays a pass, receives it back. Those kind of players, like you say, Dobbs, who's been compared to before. Bruno Fernandes is just like 100 mile an hour all the time, and so's Casemiro. And sometimes you're actually watching it, and the quotes from Paul Scholes stick in my head with this, where he says, just put your foot on the ball and dictate the tempo sometimes, slow it down if needs be. And I don't know if this is directly coming from the manager, and he's saying, listen, when you get it, forward straight away, vertical play, on the spin, fast. Because Casemiro's good at that. Bruno can be good at that. But I don't think you need to do it all the time. You don't need to be consistently attack. It's literally like you're on ultra attacking on FIFA. I don't think you need to be. I thought Arne Slot, I don't know if anyone saw the video yesterday of his analysis. He got asked from the punditry section on Sky Sports, how did you get at United? And he described it perfectly. He said, United press with a 9 and a 10 and push the fullbacks high with Casemiro dropping in between the centre-backs. So we knew to keep Diaz and Salah high, and if our midfielders win the duels, we create 1v1 situations over and over again. Eventually, obviously, Lentolini scoring 3 goals and should have been 4. There you go. Anyone who wants to beat United, there's the tactical master plan. And last season, do you remember like coaches like Luton or Brentford? I like Thomas Frank, he's good, and even Rob Edwards is good as well. But they're talking about, we just had to press the midfield, capitalise on moments, transitions are very weak, and it's like we're still like that. I think there's huge issues with the build up in midfield. It's very stretched. There's no connectivity. I don't know. There's a lot of worrying things, man, about these tactics, and even like individuals. I love someone like Lisandro Martinez, for example, but I think his IQ at times, which he never used to be like this, especially in his first season, when he goes to close down a man and he gets turned over, he's done that quite a few times now, and he's not sniffing danger as good as he did, and I don't know why. I don't know why it is. So there's a fundamental, I get the heart's in the right place and the head's in the right place, but I don't know. I don't like the setup and I don't like the tactics currently. It's confusing me. You can't just blame Casemiro. Where was Maz? Where was Dalot? Come on. Casemiro made the biggest mistake of them all. He's the one who lost the ball. No one thought he was going to lose it in the middle of the park. Andy Williams, I just wish Ineos fresh started this season. It genuinely felt like the season was over yesterday from me miles away. I know that's the big thing in it, Andy. That's the massive thing for me. You've got all this optimism and hope, and even pre-season, you're like, okay, it's pre-season. There's some mixed results in there. It is what it is. You have a half-decent performance against City. Let's be honest, they didn't have Foden, Rodri, Stones, or I think another big player in there. But you have a half-decent performance. You're like, okay, I can see something here. We're cooking up a little bit. We're much tighter in midfield. I think Mason Mount did help with that, as much as people don't want to admit it. I thought he was good and effective, but then we lacked a threat. So, you're like, we still need a striker in there. And then you start the game, the home game against Fulham. Like, okay, we won it. Fulham had a couple of chances. We're just coming back off a tournament. Some players haven't had a proper pre-season. It's going to take a while to go. Let it slide a little bit. We've won 1-0. We've kept a clean sheet. You can't really complain at that. Then the Brighton game was the one that brought us right back down to reality, wasn't it? Where you're like, right, there's still some issues here that we've not worked on. There's cobwebs that haven't been dusted for the past 3 years. And that's when it gets concerning. Talking about back post defending, being naive, flaky mentality, you go goal down and everyone just lose their heads. And it's like, where's the leaders in the team? And when you've got Lisandro, De Ligt, Casemiro, these are like winning mentality players, like right up there. Even though Nana, personality and character, it's just not clicking. at the minute. It's just really not clicking. Now, luckily for Ten Hag, he's got 2 weeks to sit on an international break, and he's got all these players to work with. You know, I know some are going away with the country. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think someone like Lisandro, Bruno, Casemiro, even though he won't go away with his country. In fact, forget Casemiro. Don't wrap him up in cotton wool and just put him away in a drawer or something. The others, wrap him up in cotton wool and just protect him. I don't think they should be going away with the country. They play far too many games. Bruno has looked an absolute shadow of himself since the start of the season. He's done absolutely nothing. I don't think he's even got an assist or anything. Let's have a look, because I'm intrigued now. Yeah, 3 matches, 0 goals, 0 assists. Marcus Rashford has had 3 matches, 0 shots on target, I believe. No shots on target. He doesn't want to beat his man. He had opportunities to run at Conor Bradley yesterday. He had opportunities to run at Canate. 1v1s, and he's cutting back and going, nope, you know what, I don't fancy this. Nope, I'm scared. Don't want to do it. You know, huge issues. Huge issues. Xerxes touch worse than Lukaku. This is what happens when you stop playing with Rashford, Garnacho and Bruno. You get the Erasmus treatment. Spot on, TTM. Andy, name me one manager out of there. No one got battered, but the players need to look at themselves. Ten Hag did make a very bad decision out of time. Brought Collier on. Collier was... look, people could say it's a bad decision, but everyone was screaming for Casemiro to be taken off. So... I just win the... Oh, sorry, I already read that out. Sorry, there's so many comments. Please do leave a like on the video for us if you can. Excuse me. My Damn United says we're rebuilding in season because we weren't ready for an important pre-season. The issues were poor individual performances from key players at a time when others are finding their feet. Sam saying, then you couple silly tactical decisions from Ten Hag and it's going to end in a disaster. DB Cooper, so Jim himself predicted 3 years, and I'll give him that. I think it's going to be 6 years at this point, probably double it. The thing is, because what happens now is you brought in De Ligt, you brought in Mazraoui, you brought in Xerxes, you brought in Yoro and Ugarte, I would argue kind of different profiles, if you will. Maybe not Ugarte. But you brought in all these players. They're definitely going to give him until December, because it'll look bad on their part. It'll look a little bit knee-jerk from like Dan Ashworth and Omar if they just get rid of him after 3 games. So he's not going to be sacked. There's no way he's going to be sacked. But I think by December, and we said it in the predictions when we did the big season review, would anyone here, sat here right now, after that Liverpool and Brighton game, be surprised if Erik ten Hag got sacked? In December, I mean, by the time it gets to that period. If the results keep going the same way. There's no way he stays on. There's no way. And I give him the benefit of the doubt last season because of all the issues that we had. And I defended him, screamed it from the hills, and I was absolutely buzzing when they kept hold of him. Because when you win the FA Cup final in the way that we did, against Man City, you're like, there's something there that you can work with. And we aren't naive and stupid to think, we've seen that performance, that's the last thing that's in our minds, everyone's gone away with the Euros, and then you add 5 players into that, quality players. De Ligt look good, you know. I'm sure Yoro is going to be a phenomenal signing at centre-back. Ugarte, similar. They all look like decent signings on paper. So then you're like optimistic, you're like, right, now you should definitely push on. But we've already lost 2 of our 3 games. And you scratch your head going, what is it? Is it a manager issue? Is it a coaching issue? Because the players don't seem happy in this setup whatsoever. They really don't. They can't seem to get to grips, to terms with it. And Ten Hag's so stubborn, he's like, I don't care. You know, if you look at the passing networks, I discussed this yesterday, I did a clip on it. The passing networks, the way it was Ollie ball. All the defenders are sat, we weren't playing a high line yesterday. It was all sat really, really deep. And the play was so stretched. You had Rashford who was just waiting on the last man, which happened under Ole. And we just, as soon as we get it, vertical pass, try play a long ball. Liverpool would recycle possession and come back at us. At times, it was a little bit different. There was some combinational play that was nice, some patterns. But you don't wait 3 years and 3 seasons to see some nice patterns. You've seen that with Arne Slot in his first 3 games, by the way. First 3 games. I get he's inherited a different squad. And Liverpool were basically pushing for the title last season until the last 7 games, was it, or something? And won a trophy. So he's inherited a decent squad. Ten Hag was different. He inherited a squad that had the worst finish and worst season ever under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But he's had 3 years now. This is his 3rd season. If we can't scrutinise the manager, then what's the point of being here? I think huge pressure on him at the moment. The only reason they want Kobe as a 6 is to accommodate Bruno's continued existence and failure as our 10. Literally the only reason. We're holding on to Bruno like no other top-class players exist. Just got a new contract as well, don't forget. My damn United, who cares about facts and exaggeration is a sign of agendas, not good analysis. If we lose 3 out of the next 4 games, Ten Hag will be in trouble. Well, look, you got Southampton away. Oh shit, I just pulled my headphones out. Anyway, we've got Southampton away when we get back from the international break. And you lose that one, nowhere to hide. Nowhere. Because we are, what, we're 13th in the table at the minute, I believe. Let's have a look. I'm sure we was 13th. 14th. So we're on 3 points with West Ham. Fulham, Chelsea, Tottenham, Forest, Bournemouth, Villa, Brentford, Newcastle, Arsenal, Brighton, Liverpool, City, all above us currently. You're already clawing for. We're already 6 points behind Liverpool and City, and it's 3 games in. You can see the gap extending. Shocking, man. Apparently, Ratcliffe kicked Casemiro out of his home, potentially, and personally drove him back to Brazil. What? People going on about that. Casemiro. Yeah, for anyone who's saying Casemiro walked out the stadium, it was bullshit. Away games after international breaks are notoriously bad games for us. Tighten that seatbelt. Oh God, DB, don't do that to me, please. I feel so negative. I don't want to be that guy who's just constantly putting it out there. But I'm worried again for the season, man. I don't see where it's turning around. Even when players come back, people are talking about Rasmus and Yoro and Shaw. And sure, they'll probably improve us. I think the Brighton game in particular, you could have done with Erasmus Højlund. I think he probably would have finished the chances that we had. And maybe even yesterday you could argue, if Rasmus got the chances that Xerxes got, he'd probably finish them. Maybe it's a different game. I don't know. But that's wishing on a star, really. And that's what kind of leads me into the... Let's talk about the striker situation, actually. Because, again, this is another topical debate that people are having. And they're saying, should we have signed a clinical striker in the market? You look at Ivan Toney, who's just gone to Saudi. I don't think we're going to score enough goals this season. You look at Haaland for City. What's he got on 6 goals already? Kane for Bayern. Isaac for Newcastle. Do we need that level of quality of striker? I know we've got Xerxes. I know we've got Højlund, but they aren't that level. These two are developmental strikers. And if you cast your minds back to, I want to say around, 6 months ago? A lot of you guys were in this chat and we were discussing when we bring in the striker, should it be a seasoned, experienced one? Or should it be another young one to compete with Højlund? Now, obviously, they went for Xerxes. It was a young one to compete with Højlund, but stylistically it's different. So it made sense slightly. You're like, okay, he can be one who supplies the strikers, or the wingers, sorry, or even play alongside Rasmus. I understand that. But now I'm like, we need a bagsman. We need a striker who's going to score a lot of goals because our wingers aren't going to do it based off the form at the minute. I mean, Garnacho was shit yesterday. Rashford has been shit for a long, long time. Ahmad's the only one who looks like potentially could get double figures, maybe, in the season. I mean, Anthony's not going to score many goals. He's had 1 goal in about 18 months. So you're really, really struggling there. You can't rely on Højlund's fitness because, again, maybe he'll pick up another big injury. He'll probably will get 10 to 15 goals, but that's not enough. Nowhere near enough for a season. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, we need a top striker. And I was a little bit skeptical of it because I'm thinking you bring in Toney now on top of Xerxes and Højlund, and potentially you could disrupt the harmony a little bit because Toney's going to expect to start. Erasmus was improving. But I just think you need a killer in the box. You really, really need someone who's going to bang in 20-plus goals, and we don't have it at United. I think Newcastle have it in Isaac, proving that last year. Haaland obviously going to be a Golden Boot winner. Others, even like Arsenal, they don't have necessarily a prolific striker, but they have, like Kai Havertz, for example. No one describes him as a killer in the box up, but look at the goal. He's scoring goals at the minute. Got quite a few last season. Saka scores a lot of goals for him. Ødegaard gets a lot of goals for him. Even the defenders, Gabriel, gets a lot from set pieces. We just don't have enough. We don't have enough goals. That's another huge glaring issue. Randy, who the fuck is Randy? Hello, Randy. Yeah, I don't know. Is that Richard? Because Richard had a pink. I don't know. We can't sack the manager for individual players' mistakes. I agree, right? But let me throw a hypothesis at you, okay? If that's even a saying. Let me throw something at you. So Casemiro, him doing that pass isn't necessarily on the manager, right? He's made that decision himself. He saw, I don't know if he was trying to play it to the wing back or Kobe or I have no idea who the pass was initially meant for. Only Casemiro would know that. But is he not being instructed by the coach? As soon as you get it, play it quickly and vertical as possible. We want to break the lines. We want to be proactive, direct. That's what Ten Hag always says that in his press conferences. Proactive and direct team. That's what he was trying to do, right? So let's say he was being coached under a Lopetegui. Let's say it was a different coach. Would he have made the same decision under that coach? That's what I'm trying to figure out. You know, it just doesn't look like great coaching on the field, on the pitch, does it? It looks like we're all over the place. It's scattered. The players are a bit frustrated. No energy at all. And I'm not saying that the blame is all on the manager, because the players are the ones who go out on the pitch. And when you make 3 mistakes and lose the game, it's hard to say the manager with that. But when it's a repetitive thing, then you start questioning it. Do you know what I'm saying? Haaland's got 7 goals in 3 games. Well, there you go. Yeah. Sean saying, yeah, she didn't say anything about him being ejected from or leaving the stadium. She only mentioned the abuse from the fans. Yeah, his wife put Casemiro's trophy cabinet on Instagram last night after all the criticism he's receiving from the game. People saying he's done and blah, blah, blah. Look, I put a tweet out yesterday on our on our profile saying, well, Varane's got a similar trophy cabinet and he's won a World Cup. Where's he at the minute? He's played 20 minutes for Como and he's gone off injured. So just because you've got a decent trophy cabinet doesn't mean you're still a great player. There's no correlation with that. You've been a fantastic player. You've been great. But since the start of last season, downhill. And you see it happen to some of the greats. What was it Carragher said yesterday? Move on before football moves on from you or something. I thought it was spot on. Yeah. Time will tell. I didn't even mention the injuries, but that's just one part. It's context. Look at Arteta, get a tune out of Sterling. I watched Sterling at United. He would have put in a proper shift. I'm gonna have to make a video about Bruno, aren't I? Because no one's telling the truth about him. Well, elaborate elite ball on. We'll discuss it. I've given you 4 sources from Twitter debunking it. Can anyone explain why Ten Hag blocked the exits of Christian Eriksen and Antony? Depth, survival of the fittest. It's the only reason why. Casemiro made the decision on the field. Yeah. This manager puts out a midfield that no one looks good in. Last season, Casemiro, Kobe, and Amrabat were tried in that lone 6. None of them look comfortable because there's just too much space. It's the build-up in midfield, man. It's killing him. Absolutely killing him. I actually feel bad for Cas. Do not like seeing... No one likes seeing a legend, someone like Casemiro. Like I said, you saw his trophy cabinet. It's mega. It's absolutely mega. He was a key cog in Real Madrid's midfield when they had that sensational Champions League winning streak. A key cog and a destroyer. And obviously a slightly different style at United, but he's made the mistakes. That second one, where he gets pushed over like a frail old man, that's got nothing to do with tactics. That is just, he's not physically up to it. It looks like he lost a bit of weight and toned up to get fitter and cover more ground. But in doing that, you've almost lost your strength because you're getting pushed over. I think it was McAllister? He's always had this thing, like, even last season, and even at times in the first season, where McTominay was keeping him at the team, where his spatial awareness at times is non-existent, which is weird for such an experienced player. Like, he thinks he's got more time on the ball than he actually has, and maybe that's because of La Liga in comparison to the Premier League. I don't know. I'm worried about him. Things can be corrected, not saying they will. We don't know the true depth of change inside the club. Sean, the biggest passenger on this team is pay rise Bruno. If anything, it's not a passenger. Off the ball, Bruno works as hard as anyone, if not more. But on the ball, there's definitely question marks. I don't agree, Elite, but I do accept he can be at times. Bruno this season has been shocking. Shocking. All our top experienced player. I think Lissandro's had a shit start to the season. I think Bruno's had a shit start to the season. Casemiro's definitely had a shit start. Rashford has been horrendous. And when your senior players aren't turning up in games, you've got no chance. No chance. Now, the comparisons that are made sometimes United get high on our own players and we overhype them. I think we've got history of doing that. And I've done it myself sometimes with Bruno when you start comparing him to the likes of De Bruyne and all these. But the difference is they are so consistent. Look at City at the start of the season. They didn't have Rodri, Foden, Walker or Stones. It didn't matter because the players that come in are professional, they're instructed properly, and they do the job. And they still look as dangerous. And then you've still got them players to come back into the team. A Premier League player of the season, a potential Ballon d'Or winner in Rodri. One of the best right-backs in the league in Kyle Walker. And one of the best centre-backs, by the way, in John Stones. And still look efficient when they're not in there. You know? Our senior players have been dog meat. Our new signings are the ones who are performing better. I'd say De Ligt and Managerial, I think have started really well. Xerxes was okay, I suppose. Yoro looked bright in pre-season. And I think Ugarte will probably be a decent signing. But Ugarte isn't going to change, everything. It'll be good. It'll be different to Casemiro. But he's also very risky. He dives in a lot. He's got high volume. He'll get about the pitch. But he's also a risk. So, I don't know. I really don't know what to expect when we get back from the international break. Again, I want to stick with the midfield because there's a story coming in from, I can't remember who the source was. Let me just have a look. About Christian Eriksen. So there's been a couple of tweets about him saying United are in turn looking at a free agent, Adrian Rabiot, which could give Christian Eriksen the opportunity to leave. Does anyone know, by the way, in the chat, can we still sign free agents if the transfer window's closed? Let me know in the comments if anyone knows. And then also, Anderlecht have made an offer for Christian Eriksen. It's up to him whether he wants to accept it. The transfer window in Belgium closes on Friday. So look, I'm not sat here saying, oh my God, we need to get Eriksen off the books, get rid of him. If he wants to go, let him go. If we can bring in Rabiot, great. That is, he's going to do a lot more damage than Eriksen is in a great respect of positive damage. That he's going to come into the team and he'll be a lot more effective and they can actually play 90 minutes and he's strong and a decent level. He's playing for France in the Euros. So he's still a top player. So if we can bring in someone like that, phenomenal, great, do it. I think it's probably a nonsense story, but yeah, I think Eriksen's just not going to have he came on yesterday and he didn't do anything, did he? Didn't even notice him, really. And that'll be the theme for the rest of the season, I think. His stats since he's arrived don't lie. He's our most productive player by a country mile when we play to get the best out of him. I'm looking at the attack that Ollie built, wondering how the fuck we've ended up where we are now with these attackers. There's not enough goals, TTM, is there? Just not enough goals. Please do leave a like on the video for us as well. I keep forgetting to mention that. We're on 6,737 subscribers. So, yeah, we're trying to get to 7K within the next month. I'd probably say that's pretty realistic. Probably the next 2 weeks, let's say. So, yeah, if there is anyone new to the channel, if you enjoyed the analysis, you've enjoyed the content, then please do hit that subscribe button. Collier looked composed. Dalot and Rashford hid from him and didn't offer any balls. I don't know. I thought he got done quite a few times physically, Collier. I don't think he's ready for physicality just yet. And again, it's unfair to throw him in when you're 2-0 down or 3-0 down. Was it 2-0 down when he came on? I think it's unfair to throw a kid on in that situation. Jonathan Ball saying, if you're saying Bruno, Manu, Leach have been poor since coming back, it's true, but disrespecting these players is just stupid. It shows the lack of real challenges to these players that they play. Xerxes looks better than Rasmus in the sense that he offers more when he's left hung out to dry, and that 9, he'll drop deep and try show for the ball, unlike Rasmus. I'm not against any player being dropped. I'm not player FC. All I care about is the club. Agreed. Ineos signing have been good. The problem is same old players who are not leaders and who don't perform consistently. Everyone who tries to play with 2 attacking midfielders wants to run forward or get bodied. Our midfield is non-existent. Yeah, there's a lot of concern from you guys. I can see that. I don't know, man. I had so much optimism, positivity going into this season. I was like, look, Ineos are doing wonderful things. We brought these guys in. I know we had a shocking season, but we won FA Cup. We beat City in the final, the best team in the world. Let's build on this. Let's do this. Let's do that. And within 3 games, Man United have managed to take the wind out of our stomachs straight away. And now we're back to square one, and people are talking about the manager. People are talking about the players. I mean, everyone's absolutely exhausted from the shithole that was last season. And we've almost had a little bit of a mental break with pre-season because they're not competitive games. And now we're back again with the heartache of England attached to it as well, losing in the final. And you're like, oh right, say we're here again. It's going to be another difficult season. There's going to be a lot of moaning. There's going to be a lot of high blood pressure. There's going to be a lot of questions around the manager. There's going to be a lot of, probably abuse from some fans towards some of our players, which I don't agree with. I agree with criticism, but definitely not abuse. And you're like, oh, here we go again, aren't you? Here we go again, unfortunately. Please remember, everyone that Bruno got subbed off versus Brighton, yet he starts against Liverpool, performed crap, and stayed on for 90 minutes. I don't disagree. Bit my tongue. Ugh! Fuck! Shit! Oh, it hurts so much. I don't disagree. Fucking hell. I don't disagree. Bruno needs to be rotated at times. I've just said about 20 minutes ago, he needs to be wrapped up in cotton wool and just put in a cryo chamber for 2 weeks, bring him back out, Bruno 2.0, and let him play. People forget how much football Bruno's played. Some of the most minutes last season out of any player. Went to the Euros, quite far with Portugal. Had, 2 weeks off? And then has come back and is going to play another 70 games this season. In the way that he plays as well, it's not right. It's not right. You're going to get serious burnout. And I will make a bold prediction. Bruno's never got injured in his life. In the next 2 seasons, 2 or 3 years, you're going to see more and more injuries from him. Because his body will start breaking down. It's only natural, the amount of football that he played. It was one of my concerns, actually, with Raheem Sterling, because the amount of football that he's played. You think about City, Chelsea, Liverpool, like how many minutes he was getting even when he was younger. That's a concern with me with Bruno. But again, he's just signed a new contract, hasn't he? Ahmad scores our only goal last game, wins player of the month within the club, and gets dropped. This manager's genuinely trolling us. Cup games are weird, though. Sunderland beat City in the FA Cup final and got relegated. I agree, Andy. I know what you mean by that. I know what you mean. For me, the problem with the players is the passing. It's sloppy, not crisp enough, not accurate enough, and not decisive enough at the moment. But this was always going to be slow progress. I know, but then you look at other teams in the league, Jonathan, and how crisp they are. I just talked about Liverpool. Liverpool's midfield have played probably 10 to 15 games max together. And look how sharp they are. You know? I'm sure McAllister went to Copa America, right? Gravenberch was did he go to the Euros? And did Szoboszlai was at the Euros as well. They played quite a few games last season, and they look on it. They didn't look tired, you know. I do think a lot of it is to do with tactics as well, because they're so stretched. Yeah, he needs to work on it during the international break, and if you don't, you're probably going to lose your job, mate. Sign midfielders and stop making noise. We should have known Bruno wasn't likely to start the season running. Did we not see how poor he was in the Euros? How can some footballers' minutes just be guaranteed no matter what? Well, there's a lot of people. Nick, I'd love to speak to you. Can we not make this happen? I respect your opinions. Can we not make what happen? I don't know what you're saying. But yeah, talking about footballers' minutes being guaranteed, there is a huge conversation going on at the minute with Marcus Rashford. And some people, there's conspiracy saying there is a clause in his contract that says that he has to play minutes. Didn't someone have one of them under Ole, was it? I'm sure someone had something in the contract where they had to play a certain amount. Was it Maguire, potentially? I feel like Rashford has something in there. Because after some people last night, let's just debunk this actually, because again, these tactical experts on X who do threads and know it all are talking about Marcus Rashford like he had a fantastic game. I saw someone saying he put 2 crosses into the box. I'm sorry. Does 18 months of shit performances and 2 crosses into the box justify him staying on the pitch? What on earth are we doing here? Why is Marcus Rashford still starting games? That's the question. He has been shit for a long, long time. You cannot keep referencing the first season under Ten Hag when you talk about Marcus Rashford. He got 30 plus goals. That was 2 years ago. What are you talking about? He's been dreadful. The amount of situations yesterday where you're looking at him and you're like, beat your man, beat your man. Or in actual fact, I guarantee every one of you guys and ladies who were sat watching the game, as soon as he picked it up on that left-hand side, I bet the majority of you went, oh, he's not going to do anything. He's just going to cut back and pass it back. Or some of you were screaming saying, run it, you man. Run it, you man. He's so predictable. He had a 1v1 opportunity with Kanata yesterday. Didn't fancy it. Cut back. No, not doing that. No chance. He's bigger than me. He's quicker. Where's the fearlessness that he showed in the first season? That's why I'm so done with Marcus Rashford. I am. I don't want to make him the scapegoat because there's been a lot of players that played bad. But he has been dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. It's an issue that's... Because, again, another one on fucking £350,000 a week. Still got quite a few years left on his contract. And it looks like you're getting nothing out of him. And he keeps starting games. He keeps relentlessly starting games. What have you got to do to be dropped? What I had an issue with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And sorry, I know I'm ranting a little bit. And I'll get to your comments in a minute. I had an issue with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, right? Because he would constantly pick the same players when they was playing absolutely shit. Every single week in, week out. Maguire, Scott, Fred, Rashford, always playing. And what message does that send to the squad? Someone like Ahmad, let's say, for example, who someone just rightfully mentioned, player of the month, scored our only goal against Brighton, even though he had a bit of a stinking performance in himself. If you're Amad Diallo and you're sat on the bench and you're watching Rashford play, you're like, this coach knows nothing. He's like Jon Snow. You know nothing, Erik ten Hag. You know nothing. Because he's doing nothing. And you've got to sit there as a winger and go, how is this guy playing ahead of me? Am I not seeing something that, that the manager is? It's like Ten Hag, he always references the cups, right? He got asked after the game yesterday, people have an issue with your style, and the way you play out from the back, the way you press, the way you do this. And he mentioned a load of things and questioned him on it. And he went, but when you win 2 trophies, you finished 8th in the league still. You had an embarrassing Champions League qualification. So, look, trophies are nice, and we said it at the time, I'd rather win a trophy than not. But let's not pretend that, someone just mentioned we nearly lost to Coventry. I think the journalist said Cambridge at the time, we nearly lost to Coventry. Very, very close. Luckily not to do that. And if that happened, he probably would have lost his job. So, I think this coach is a little bit mad, expecting and living off the past and talking about pre-season games with Antony, talking about Rashford in the first season. He's capable of doing it. Well, he's not at the minute, and that credit in the bank should have run out a long time ago. If he starts the next game, I'm just like, just let it go. Let it go. Frozen, let it go, please. Sean saying I was shouting fucking run at him in the bar last night. Rashi's been infuriating. His head isn't in the game. Sam saying Rashford has been poor. The scapegoat for the same game yesterday. The whole team underperformed. It's just negative for negative's sake. Feel free to rant. Let it out. Rashford has no competition. Sancho gone. And in my opinion, Garnacho's better on the right. Anthony and Ahmad cannot play. I would rather have Garnacho on the left-hand side than Rashford every day of the week at a minute. Not even a debate. I keep saying this. We didn't give a shit that Van Gaal won us an FA Cup with a 6th place finish. Rashford was absolutely disgusting again. Acts like a spoilt brat. Ahmad and Garnacho should start. We should have lost to Coventry. They did get robbed. Their 4th goal should have stood. Punch Paint saying create more chances and score goals. Lots of emphasis on our defence after last season. New signings have fixed a lot of problems, but we need to move forward as a whole squad to compete for top 4. I agree, Punch. DB Cooper saying, I guarantee a lot of these rotations are done on a computer. The computer says this player's ran this much, therefore must limit minutes in the next match. The computer's broke. That's what I say. I don't know where he's getting his information from. But yeah, it's like he's one on Wikipedia. Don't trust it. Ahmad lost his mother and was very selfless to be at the game. I did not expect him to start. Yeah, it's a great point. What do you expect, Nick? Of course you're going to attack back. No other coach gets the media negativity that Ten Hag gets. No, look. I will always back the manager, and I understand it. But you can't tell me that it isn't frustrating when Ten Hag references things from the past that have no correlation to what the journalist is asking about. The journalist is asking him about tactics week in, week out in the league and how you're failing, how the midfield is failing. We all agree on this. This is what we've said as a channel and as a community. We've spoken about it, and we've just spent 40 minutes speaking about it. So when a journalist brings this up in a press conference and he says to Ten Hag, why do these issues keep happening? Why do these mistakes keep happening? Why do the players look knackered and legless in midfield? Why is the game so stretched? Why are you playing with a deep line and then going long ball? And he goes, well, yeah, we've won 2 trophies. in 2 seasons. I'm like, fine, great. But that doesn't explain. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't explain why this is happening week in, week out. We want to do well in the league as well, don't forget. Like, I don't know if he's just saying, well, you know, if we win a trophy again this season, it's fine. We can finish 7th or 8th. You need to see a bit of progression as well. I'm happy to win trophies. Don't get it twisted. I said that when we won the FA Cup, especially against City. But do you just want to be a cup team? No, you want to progress and you want to... And I don't see any progression with this team. Maybe we press a little bit better. Maybe we run a little bit harder, like Arne Slot referenced it. But there's a question for you, right? Come back at me on that. In Erik ten Hag's time, since he first came in, what have we significantly improved on? Tell me, please. Answers on a postcard. I don't know. Last season, Ten Hag said he'll play Rashford into form. He proceeds to go on a bender in Ireland and missing a match. Fast forward, he's still starting. How can you say you'll play Rashford into form, but in the same breath, Sancho isn't training well enough and needs to fight his way into the squad? Double standards for players. Richard's in the chat saying Marcus needs to be dropped. I love Marcus, one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. However, Marcus, this is about football and you need to stand down. Spot on, Richard. I'm a big fan of Bruno, but for the time being, we need 3 in the middle. We need more legs. If he has to be dropped, then so be it. But who'd you drop him for? Because Mount's injured now as well. So we haven't even got anyone to drop him for, really. Unless you want to try Ahmad or Xerxes there. I don't know. Ten Hag does get unfairly criticised, but he gets fairly criticised too. If he thinks it's okay to be in a basketball game every week, then he should be able to stand behind it. Yes. Yes, DB. We don't press better than other teams, and it's all the extra running helpful towards our injury-prone team. Yeah, if we started with Casemiro, Collier, and Mainu elite, there would have been unnecessary circus around that decision before a huge game, and we'd have to bring Bruno on for Casemiro anyway. Yeah, I don't know. It's a minefield, isn't it, lads? Welcome to supporting Manchester United, unfortunately. Plenty of stuff to talk about. I don't know why I'm thinking. 1 second. My mixers just fell on the floor. Sort that out. But yeah, I'm sure we're going to be here multiple times per week talking about how United need to sort this out and how we need to do that and why we should have signed this player. And the thing is, we've got 2 weeks now to sit on this Liverpool result. So, yeah, what the plan is for this channel at least, and there's some positive news, for the next couple of weeks, we're going to get some guests on. We're going to do some interactive shows. We're going to mix it up a little bit, some different forms of content. Because obviously for the past 3 months, I want to say probably 10 weeks, we've just been talking transfers. The transfer window's closed now. There's going to be no football for 2 weeks because it's going to be England, but who gives a shit about England? Lee Carsley, I can't wait to win the World Cup with him. Yeah, we're just going to do different stuff, more interactive, and make it interesting for you guys. So we're going to work on that a lot. Obviously, members' videos will continue as well. So we've got an idea for that next one that I need to speak to Sam about. But apart from that, yeah, that's what we're going to do. You should do call-ins, Nick. Well, what we did, someone mentioned doing... now's the time to do these kind of shows. So if anyone has any ideas, chuck them in there. But people said they wanted to do a voice note. Like quite a few people said we wanted to send some controversial opinions in, voice notes. I put the email in the chat. We didn't even get one sent to us. So I'm happy to do the shows, but you need to send the voice notes, you know, rather than a call in, because look, I don't know all of you. I trust the majority of you, but someone could just call in and start being like racist or something stupid, and then we get cancelled and the show. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'd rather send a voice note. We can listen to it and like, okay, decent opinion or controversial opinion. That's something we can discuss. So send realredstalk99@gmail.com. If you have anything you want to voice out, any opinions, send them to there. We'll play them out on the show, and me and the lads will react to it. I've said that a million times, but if we don't get them, we can't do them. Even though this counter-attack was more potent, we used to slap 5s and 6 past teams, even 9. Now we can't even crack more than 4 goals in a single game. Oh, it's disheartening, isn't it? It really is. I think this season we've pressed better, played out the press better this season. You can't... That I would allow. Yeah, Jonathan, I agree. We have pressed better. We look better as a collective. I said that at the start of the season. And the combinations are better, the patterns. But it's not enough. Yeah, we can do the voice note one. There's no problem with that. It's not hard to send a voice note, is it? It takes 1 minute. Say whatever you need to, and we'll play it out on the show, and we'll react to it. I'll put the email in the chat. There you go. Or even send it us. Voice notes are one-ended, not a conversation. Yeah, but you can put your... You can make it 2-3 minutes or 4 minutes. Say everything you need to get off your chest. And then we'll discuss it. We'll debate it. Do you know what I mean? If we did a Discord... you could try Discord calling, because I've seen people do it before. But also, it's gone the wrong way. And then it fucking destroys the channel because someone said something stupid on a show. So you have to be careful. I'm not saying you guys will, but there are some people that will. So, yeah. So if you want to send one, send a... You don't have to, but the option's there for the email. If you want to send a voice note, get on it. Already I'm exhausted 3 games in. I think that's the perfect place to leave it, Andy. And I'll pin that comment because I'm exhausted as well. Just talking about the same issues. You know, if the definition of insanity is doing the same things again over and over and over and expecting, you know, different result. Richard saying, I did not send a voice note because I thought you and Sam were probably overrun by voice notes. Let's say your opinions. I'll send mine this afternoon. Yeah, if you don't want to send it to email, send it to Instagram, send it to our Twitter, whatever it is that you follow us on. Send your voice notes in and we'll play them out. And obviously you're going to be in the chat anyway, aren't you? So if we're debating it, you can just put in your thoughts in. No, actually I meant this, or actually this, blah, blah, blah. You know? So go for it. Right, I'm going to leave it at that, guys. If anyone hasn't liked the video yet, please do, if you could be bothered. Here, subscribe to the channel, share to a friend. Any of that kind of stuff is great, but we've got a fantastic community as is anyway. We'll be back later on at 7 o'clock, so make sure you come and join us. We've got something different planned for then. Apart from that, if you are in work, whatever it is you're doing currently, if you're Sean, you're probably eating a kebab. Then, yeah, do your thing. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully Liverpool haven't ruined it too much, and I'll speak to you guys in a bit. Yeah, safe. See you in a bit.